Welcome back to the Sid Rosenberg Show.
So I don't know, what is your relationship? I know you're tight with the Georges. Are you tight with Jeb too?
Of course, yes. I'm actually in a fantasy football league with the governor and the whole family. He's leading our fantasy league right now.
Well, first of all, I'm 7-0 in my fantasy football league.
I had a feeling you were going to brag about that.
Gronkowski is still going strong. I have Ryan Tannehill, Marco, as my quarterback. He was 18 for 19 last week. So I'm doing great.
Carl, are we really talking about getting government involved in fantasy football? Enough on fantasy football. Let people play. Who cares?
It's Sid Rosenberg on 640 Sports.
You know, the Democrats have the ultimate super PAC. It's called the mainstream media, who every single day, and I'll tell you why. Last week, Hillary Clinton went before a committee. She admitted she had sent emails to her family saying, hey, this attack in Benghazi was caused by al-Qaeda-like elements. She spent over a week telling the families of those victims and the American people that it was because of a video. And yet the mainstream media is going around saying it was the greatest week in Hillary Clinton's campaign. It was the week she got exposed as a liar. It was the week that she got exposed as a liar. But she has her super PAC helping her out, the American mainstream media.
That's my guy, Marco Rubio. Told you.
What? Your guy?
My guy, Marco Rubio. Told you from day one. Taking no prisoners.
When was day one? This morning?
Marco, I told you way back when. Marco Rubio.
Did you know Ben Carson will be in Boca next Friday?
No, he didn't call me. But I told you guys, Marco Rubio. This guy eventually he's taking no prisoners, and he kicked a bunch of ass last night.
He was very likable.
Yeah.
Yes.
He went to Joyce today. What? He never goes to work. He hasn't voted on one thing yet. He flip-flopped on immigration. He's been a government employee his whole life. His wife's a dopey-dopping cheerleader. Listen, all that may be true. All of it may be true, but he kicked some ass last night, and now the question is, how much of a game changer was it? Because a lot of people thought he won the first two debates, and he's still mired somewhere in fourth or fifth, well behind Carson and Trump. So how much of a game changer was Marco Rubio's performance last night? And you got to ask one guy, the moderator of television's best and most important television show. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press. Chuck Todd, live in Denver, Colorado. Good morning, Chuck.
I'm actually already back in New York City. I left Boulder last night.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I know. So I'm on like 2 hours sleep. So this could be an epic appearance because my filter is totally worn away. Look, we're going to absolutely all those things that you said about Rubio are true. But the most important difference with this debate for Rubio than the first two is who lost due to his, and who did he gain off of, right? Who did he draft off of? And it's the fact that a whole bunch of donors that have been waiting for Jeb Bush to prove himself may just finally give up on him. And then the only place, the safest harbor in their mind, the safest investment becomes Marco Rubio. So much of this donor class now believes they understand politics as well as anybody, and they view it they do view it now as an investment. And you can make an argument that investing in Marco Rubio, even if he doesn't win the nomination, you're investing in somebody that could be the running mate. You're investing in somebody that could do it 4 years from now. It is a probably a better long-term play than Jeb right now, because Jeb is really, it's either now or never. And you could see a whole bunch of big money people get cold feet this morning.
I wonder if Jeb can overcome this, can last here. I mean, again, we knew going in he needed a big debate. His one shining moment was when he attacked Marco Rubio on his record, not going to work. What do you have, a 3-day French work week? And killing him with kindness. Marco basically said, hey, Jeb, somebody put you up to this. I love you. I still love you. He embarrassed him. He crushed him. So
he ripped his heart out.
Killed him.
When he said somebody told you that this would be a good idea, that was like I had a pit in my stomach. You felt so sorry.
No, it was horrible.
You're like, it was like Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. It was like, I cannot believe that just happened as cleanly and frankly, abusively as it did.
It was brilliant. So the question becomes, we know Jeb Bush is a good fantasy football player because Jim Nantz told me that yesterday. We played that on this show. But on a serious note, can he overcome his third now consecutive lackluster debate?
I don't know. No, I'm thankful that I have him on Sunday.
Good.
I think, look, one of two things. It's the beginning of the end.
He's on a cell phone outside of New York City, so he did say that. The quality of the phone was great. And now we've lost Chuck Todd.
Let me check on this. Hold on.
All right. Oh, you can't. That's no good. Let's see if he calls back right away. We were asking about, can Jeb Bush overcome this lackluster performance in debate number 3 last night, where he got his ass kicked by the guy that he endorsed not that long ago, a guy that would refer to Jeb Bush as his mentor, and that is the Senator Marco Rubio from Florida. And now we wonder if, in fact, Jeb, who had all that money, all of it, between the super PAC and his campaign, tons of money, if any of that matters anymore. If, in fact, a lot of his donors actually jump ship and go to Marco Rubio, and maybe we have seen the last of Jeb Bush. So we'll get right back with Chuck Todd very quickly right after this.
Stand by. Live, local, real.
So good.
Sid Rosenberg on 640 Sports.
Back to the streets. New York City. Chuck Todd. Chuck, you were telling us, first of all, Jeb Bush will be on Meet the Press on Sunday. That is a great get this week. Maybe he'll announce he's jumping out his exit plan on Sunday. But you were telling us you're not sure if, in fact, Jeb Bush can overcome another lackluster performance in last night's debate.
That's right. I think I'm not. But by the way, I have done your show from Warsaw. I've done it from Prague. I believe I've done it from Africa.
You have?
Why? I'm in Midtown Manhattan. And you lose self. It is the most ridiculous. And you know this. You're a New Yorker. You know this. How is it that I can be in the West Bank, okay, sort of, the West Bank in the Middle East, and we have a safer signal to have a conversation?
Hey, listen, you also called me.
Manhattan.
You also called me. I'll never forget, from Japan. You're about to go out for a sushi dinner, like right after Barack Obama.
Right. My point is, all over the world we've done this, and Midtown Manhattan to Boca Raton in a cell service here apparently is impossible. It is, if Bloomberg or de Blasio, if they could just solve that problem for two of them, how is that not happening? Forget anything else in the streets of New York City.
That is funny. You're right. Of all places, New York City.
And it always is true. You cannot get a signal in Manhattan.
It's all the tall buildings they block. They block the signals in all seriousness. So that's the issue. I don't believe they've got those tall buildings in Afghanistan. I don't believe they do.
No, that's true. That's true. Not yet. But anyway, look, Jeb, there's a whole bunch of money people that are just sitting there, and that's what, it's funny. Another candidate could overcome this. If the conventional wisdom turns on Jeb, he's running, I think it was the 538 kid who wrote this, and I thought he was right. Jeb is more susceptible to bad media critiques because he's running such a conventional campaign.
Yeah.
He's running a 20th century campaign that is relying on positive media coverage. So when it goes south, his donors react to it quicker. So that's why this is such a worse moment for him, for instance, than it would be for, say, Donald Trump.
I tell you what, everything I read this morning, the New York Times, Politico, all the stuff I like to read at least, every one of them are pretty much in agreement that the two clear-cut winners, Chuck Todd, last night were the aforementioned Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, who at one point just lashed out at your colleagues at CNBC. And look, I know you work at NBC. I am not going to put you in a tough spot. I'm going to tell you they did a very poor job. And I love Ron Insana and a bunch of folks, San Maria, but that was a pathetic display last night. Not for you to comment on, I get it. But with that said,
Ted Cruz grabbed the moment. That's what happened. He grabbed the moment. He seized an opening. He seized an opportunity. And by the way, he was magnanimous.
Yes.
Which is something that people are surprised. He defended the rest of it. It was an important moment for Cruz. He needed that. He's yet to have he's yet to have this moment. And Ted, if Trump or Carson, and I just say if, I'm not going to say when, if they say Ted Cruz is the place they go first before they go think about anybody else.
So am I to believe then, Chuck, that if I'm right, and I'm not sure I am, but Trump and Carson, despite what I thought were both of them, very lackluster efforts last night. Very lackluster. But if I include the fact that Rubio and Ted Cruz were so good and Jeb Bush is probably on the way out, am I here to think that the Final Four, college basketball fans, may be Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz?
I'll say this. I thought Chris Christie had a really good night, too.
Yes, two in a row. That's two in a row, by the way, for Chris. 2 in a row. Good debates.
Correct. And, Kasich totally flailed in this debate. And, by the way, when you preview your frustration, had he said, this whole thing he said the other day about he was calling out everybody, but he wouldn't call them out by name, had he actually done that at the debate itself for the very first time, it could have been a great moment for him. Mm-hmm. Instead, it just sounded repetitive and whiny. Christie, on the other hand, and I say this because Christie and Kasich both have the same strategy, which is to pop in New Hampshire, sort of New Hampshire or bust. I still think conservatives aren't ever going to forgive Christie for hugging Obama. I just don't think it happens.
Right.
But I could see the New Hampshire tide turning, at least giving Christie a look. That's all, a look. The same people that have been giving Kasich a look, they could now give Christie a look. So, yes, I agree with you on the 4, but it feels like Christie's in the play-in game.
Right.
He might be hanging around there a little bit.
Tuesday night play-in game, yes.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday night play-in game. But he and Kasich, one of them, they're very New Hampshire-y. They fit the electorate well. One of them's going to pop there.
I love Drudge, and I do read the Drudge Report every single day. I know liberals can't stand it, but Michael Savage.
You're going to the paleo thing, aren't you?
No, I'm going.
Jeb can eat meat now.
I'm Trump.
That's what Drudge tweeted that. Jeb can eat meat now.
I'm going to Trump. Why every single time Trump is up there for a debate, no matter what he says, no matter what he does, good, bad, or indifferent, does Drudge tell me that Trump won every time?
I know. Well, I think obviously Trump has a good relationship with Drudge. Drudge has a certain amount of influence with, I think, conservatives, but not. I don't know if it's enough to put somebody over the top.
Right.
But it's enough. He certainly can be a negative. He can be somebody that can pile on, and he's not going to be very helpful to Jeb Bush.
But do you agree, and I was a surprising number here, 5 minutes and 18 seconds out of Donald Trump. I either placed him in 5th or 6th last night in terms of speaking time. Would you agree, Chuck, because we've agreed the last 2 times, that once again Donald Trump showed me nothing last night? Nothing.
Yeah, and this should have been a debate he dominated. It's on the economy. He should have been able to own this debate. Look, I thought he whacked Kasich hard.
Yes, kicked his ass.
It was sort of almost vintage Trump. And then I think he made a decision because he didn't look like he was tired. He just decided, I'm stepping back.
Yeah.
This debate's going to be about Rubio and Bush. Why step? I actually think he might have, for the first time in his life, been strategic about this and realized, hey, let it be about Marco and Jeb because they're killing each other. Let that happen. I'll stand back.
Yeah, but here's the problem. He's going in the other direction. I mean, he actually fell into 2nd place this week, as you know, behind Ben Carson. And by doing that, you're right, let those guys kill each other. But by doing that, he may have allowed Marco Rubio and who knows, maybe a Ted Cruz to really get back in the race.
He could. By the way, to go back to the Rubio thing, Jeb, Jeb hit him on the wrong issue when he came to that story about the U.S. Senate. It's not about missed votes. It's about the idea that in the Washington Post interview, Marco Rubio said he was so frustrated with the Senate he decided he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Right.
Because then the hit is, we elected you and a whole bunch of people in 2010 because you promised us you were going to fix this place. You promised you were going to reform. And guess what? It's hard work. You're walking away already? What are you going to do when the presidency gets hard? The current president we have now has thrown up his hands when it comes to working with Congress. Has thrown up his hands, so he's decided, I'm just going to sign executive orders. I'm done with this place. We don't need another president to get frustrated too easily. That is much harder for Rubio to deal with than the missed votes thing. That's where I think that Jeb just totally miscalculated.
Yeah, you're right about that. Hillary Clinton was tweeting quite a bit last night, and you heard Rubio say...
By the way, bad night for her. Can I just tell you? Any night that Marco Rubio is the toughest potential opponent she has, period. There's nobody you can make a case to me that is better than that. Better than Rubio. So when he has a good night, it's a bad night for her.
I was going to ask you that. I thought that's exactly what you answered before I even asked it. Hillary tweeting a bit last night, so you thought it was a bad night for Hillary Clinton.
Just simply because it was a good night for Marco Rubio.
Right.
She needs a polarizing opponent. She just does. She's polarizing. She needs to be able to polarize her opponent. So Donald Trump, polarizing. Ben Carson, his rhetoric's polarizing. Jeb Bush, polarizing.
Right.
Ted Cruz, polarizing. The least polarizing. The most optimistic-sounding guy there, the generational change, is Marco Rubio. And by the way, he's a pretty good debater. We're finding out. Can you imagine him one-on-one with Hillary Clinton?
I think he'd do well. I do. In fact, one more will let you run. I know you're on the streets of New York. By the way, news coming across my desk that the Miami Marlins have just hired recently, he got fired, but they said it was mutual. Don Mattingly is now the manager of the Miami Marlins, Yankee fans. Don Mattingly is now the manager of the Miami Marlins. So is Marco Rubio, look, Trump is not going to win this. I'm more convinced than ever, even I've jumped off the Trump train, that this is going in one direction. It ain't going back up. It's going down, down, down. So after last night, are you pretty convinced that Rubio is going to win this thing, or not yet? We're still a year away.
I can't because, but as you pointed out, Rubio has been the guy that seems to have gotten momentum out of the first debate, seems to have gotten momentum out of the second debate, seems to have gotten momentum out of this debate, and it's never quite right. It's sort of like talk about media bias that's in your favor. I think the media in general has been almost willing Rubio to have his moment. And it hadn't quite happened, right?
So what is he doing wrong? So, what does he have to do? Why can't Marco sit down with his guys and say, listen, I've had 3 good debates, now what?
I think he needs to start campaigning more. I don't think he campaigns enough. Trump's got an event every other day, right? Yeah. So it helps sort of, Jeb Bush has been, and this, to me, it shows you it's not working, but Rubio has been running a very, he's not been to Iowa a lot. He's not been to New Hampshire a lot. He's not been to South Carolina a lot. I think he needs to be out there more. I think he needs to do more town halls. I think he needs to be more present. So far, it feels as if he is, he's been trying to fly under the radar, and he's been running a presidential campaign basically from debate to debate on potential, rather than he's sort of like, a venture capital guy, right? A venture capital investment. Everybody is invested, but the product's not fully out yet. Well, it's time to release the product. Let's see him every day. I think he needs to start doing that.
Is he on
because I think people are curious.
Get him back on Sunday. Get him and Jeb Bush on. How about that?
Oh man, get them back to back. Yeah, that would be.
Hey, listen, he was on with you after the was it the first or second debate when he
fared? After the first debate. First debate. Yeah. We did Marco. Yep.
So who's are you doing your show this week from New York or DC?
No. I'm actually flying down to Miami Friday to interview Jeb Saturday morning.
Oh, nice.
And then doing the show from home base in Washington.
Who else is on besides Jeb on Sunday?
If there is it's very likely I will have a new Speaker of the House.
Oh, really?
But, we have to see. We shall see. We have to. All the I's aren't dotted and the T's aren't crossed on that one.
But it's done. Paul Ryan's, that's done. It's done. Come on, it's done. Like Don Mattingly, it's done. Hey, listen, and you're done for today, but you're brilliant again, and I love you, and you call me from New York City, and you, like you said, whether you're in Prague or Russia or Afghanistan or Japan, you always find time for me, and I love you for that. You were great. Thank you, Chuck.
Well, I just apologize for the horrible third world style.
That's okay. It's New York City.
In Midtown Manhattan.
That's Bill de Blasio's fault. Hey, listen, I can't let you go. 30 seconds. The Hurricanes did what you wanted. They fired Al Golden. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't want to say. I don't put it as did what we wanted. They did. They had to
did
do
what they had to do. Right.
No, Blake James did what he had to do. And by the way, that was tough and all that. I'm impressed with the first press conference of Larry Scott. Good for him. And by the way, look at what the Dolphins are doing with a tight ends coach turned interim. So
did you hear Paul Feinbaum yesterday say? Not to bring it back to me, but he said the worst stadium in college football.
You know what? I'm tired of. Yeah, you know what?
No fan base, a delusional fan base, losers for. Paul Feinbaum killed Miami.
This is a guy. That's right, he did, and I really was upset about it because you know what? People love to kill Miami from all the traditional areas of college football simply because, and they used to kill Miami when Miami was killing them. They don't want they're afraid of Miami's is the easiest place to win at. It's not a bad job. It's actually the easiest place to win at because all you have to do is recruit locally and you win. You don't even have to travel. You don't have to get on an airplane. You just have to get in your car and show up at a high school And so, Feinbaum, it's funny. It's like, his panic. He's an Alabama guy. His panic, Mario Cristobal's going to become the next head coach, who's
Right.
the head of recruiting for Alabama.
Right.
This is not anything other than him praying and hoping that Miami continues to fumble around when it looks for a coach. I mean, for God's sakes, I think we know what we have to do here, which is get somebody who understands the Miami culture and has been recruited and doesn't give a damn about what the stadium looks like. You know what matters? How many NFL players?
That's right. And how many rings?
And who's still – that's right.
That's
how many NFL players? These kids want to go make a living. Well, Miami is proving it's a better place to go than any other school right now, apparently.
Yep.
So, I know. Feinbaum really just sort of – look, he was just doing what he was wanting to do. He's doing the bidding of the SEC. But, whatever.
Oh, you broke it down
Okay.
correctly. I love you. Have a good time. We'll see you Sunday.
All right, brother.
All right. Chuck Todd, of course, if it's Sunday, here it's on at 9. I think it's on at 10:30 in New York. But if it's Sunday, it's not the NFL. No. It's Meet the Press. But before we let you go with this, I love this theme song, and I love Chuck Todd. I love Meet the Press. And if you didn't hear what Paul Feinbaum had to say, it was, well, I hate playing this. I really do. I know the Hurricane fans and Chuck and Victor and Laz and all these folks that, for some reason, have devoted their lives to a meaningless, ridiculous sport like college football in the first place, and a program that died a long time. That program died a long time ago. We keep hearing that Fidel Castro's dead. The Hurricane football program died a long time ago. But Paul Feinbaum had the balls to say it. Here's what he had to say.
I think Miami is just an absolutely terrible job. I think this program is bankrupt. I think it has a delusional fan base thinking that this is the 80s and the 90s and maybe even the early part of the new millennium. I don't get it. I don't know why any coach in their right mind would want this job. You have all these former players, and their names are well known. They're tweeting. They want some ownership in the program, and they're not going to accept just some run-of-the-mill coach, nor will they get a big-name coach. I mean, you said maybe entice a coach. I'd like to know who you're talking about, because what legitimate coach would walk in there with one of the worst stadiums in America with no fan base whatsoever unless they can be a proven winner, which they can't be on day one? I mean, Al Golden was a pretty good hire, and he failed miserably.
Welcome back to the Sid Rosenberg Show.
Hey, baseball fans, Crow here with a special invitation for you. You're invited to an in-store autograph signing featuring the new face for the Florida Marlins, Hanley Ramirez. Joining Hanley Ramirez from 12:15 to 1:15 will be Marlins starting pitcher Bert Badenhop. Is that right? Bert Badenhop. Jesus. Bert Badenhop. Is that right? Badenhop. Bert Badenhop will be there. Huh? Bert Badenhop. Jesus. Badenhop, right? Badenhop? Bert Badenhop. I can't do that. Bert Badenhop, the Florida Marlins superstar. Oh. At 12:15, Bert Badenhop. Badenhop. Bert Badenhop. Bert Badenhop will be pitching. Joining Hanley from 12:15, 1:15, 12:15 to 1:15. Joining Hanley from 12:15 to 1:15 will be joining Marlins. Fuck it, I'm out.
It's Sid Rosenberg on 640 Sports.
Time was drifting, this rocket got to roll. So I hit the road and made my getaway. Restless feeling really got a hold. I started searching for a better way. And I kept on looking for a sign in the middle of the night, but I couldn't see the light. No, I couldn't see the light.
That was funny. I mean, it's at the expense of my good friend Warren Cromartie at Crow, but that was on QAM when they had the baseball team, right? Poor Warren Cromartie. We've all done that, though. We've all done these promos and had difficult times. Well, I shouldn't say we all. I've never had that difficulty, to be honest, but Crow did there. We had one. We've had more than one. We've had a bunch of incidents. I usually tell the guys to get rid of it because I don't want to embarrass our friends. But Duper was a good one here. The great Mark Duper, the great wide receiver.
That was legendary. Well, Crow was legendary. Duper is
that was Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia was the board-out producer back then. You can hear Danny in the background giving him orders. That was a great conversation with Chuck Todd. We've had a great show so far. Stu Feiner making his picks, and Tamara Holder. Fox News was here. Chuck Todd here moments ago from Meet the Press. We're still going to talk to Charlie Casserly of the NFL Network in 9 minutes. We start the Week 8 of the NFL tonight with the Dolphins, the red-hot Miami Dolphins, winners of 2 in a row, 2-0 under Dan Campbell at 3-3 up in Massachusetts, taking on the unbeaten 6-0 New England Patriots. Jim Nantz and Phil Simms will have the call. So we'll talk to Casserly at 8:45. Our weekly conversation with the veteran from the Florida Panthers, Sean Thornton, coming up at 9:10. And then Mark Caputo, who does the local Florida playbook on Politico, will talk debate and mostly about the back and forth between Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio last night. I just saw Chris Christie on CNN talking about how he still can't believe a day later that the moderators at CNBC somehow or another included fantasy football in last night's debate. He's like, he can't believe it. Can't believe it.
It's a billion-dollar industry.
Right, we know that already because you're doing a stupid show here on that.
But no, it was kind of funny. That's a great clip of Christie.
Christie?
It's a great clip. Well, Jeb sounds like a moron talking about
7-0.
Yeah, that's stupid.
He was breaking down Ryan Tannehill's numbers.
So what's he trying to say? That we should vote him in for president because he's 7-0 in fantasy?
He's got the quarterback of the Dolphins and the tight end of the Patriots.
Ryan Tannehill did do well in the first half last week.
Yes, he did. And Jeb Bush is all over it.
He was a Florida guy, too.
I think he's trying to make the point that if I can do well in fantasy football, that I can run the world.
Oh, yeah, I could say that makes sense.
Well, absolutely. I can see that, right? Mark Eisenberg does well in fantasy football. How would Mark Eisenberg be as president of the United States?
Oh, boy.
You have Duper there ready to go?
We'd be in trouble.
This is a very unfortunate couple of minutes with Mark. I hate playing this. I really do.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Go ahead, play it. Why not? It's funny.
Hey, Sig. This is your best friend, you know? How you always call everybody your best friend. This is Mark Duper from the Miami Dolphins. Excuse me. I screwed that up big time.
Boy.
Hi, this is Mark Duper. Welcome back, Sig, on 640, right?
Try that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Sig, welcome back on 640 Sports.
Who the hell is Sig? I'm just curious.
That's what I was about to say.
He knows me. I mean, we've hung out.
It's like Zig Ziegler or whatever.
He's a really nice guy, too.
Oh, he's a great guy. Yeah, that was unfortunate. We have more of those. I don't know. We don't play those. It's. You've done a bunch of those too, Langell. That I just.
The Crow is the best story because I said
bloopers are the best.
I was like, I wonder who's in the studio with him doing that. Langell goes, I was.
It was Langell. Yeah.
That makes it even better.
I didn't get that off like YouTube or anything.
And there's a reason why he played that. It wasn't just all of a sudden during the day after the GOP debate and Dolphins and Patriots and the Knicks and Heat win last night and all that. The Marlins are in the news today.
Yes.
I mentioned it during the Chuck Todd interview that former New York Yankee great, and he was great, and Los Angeles Dodger manager, just a Dodgers manager a couple of weeks ago, Don Mattingly is now the new manager, the new skipper of your Miami Marlins.
Yes, baby. Yeah. Look out. Fish are.
Oh, be quiet.
It's going to be all
Gordon
about the
loves
fish
that.
now.
Like Ozzie Guillen, like Mike Redmond.
This is Donnie Baseball. This is different, man.
He, what's his name? Bill Adams, who does a morning show at 107.9.
What do you mean, what's his name? You know him very well.
I forgot for a second. With Jen Ross. He also does the show on my sister station before Joyce, 11 to 12 on FTL. He walks in and goes, how's Don Mattingly going to do? I said, it doesn't matter. You should be asking me, how's Stanton going to do? How's Fernandez going to do? How's D. Gordon going to do? More importantly, how's Yelich going to do? How's Ozuna going to do? Mattingly ain't going to do dick. Listen, I will never forget when the Yankees hired Joe Torre. Do you guys remember the very famous headline locally in the New York papers when the Yankees named Joe Torre their skipper? Very famous.
I remember the line, but I obviously wasn't in New York to read it myself.
It was a play off the great Shoeless Joe. The headline read, Clueless Joe, because Joe had managed in St. Louis, was an abysmal failure, had managed with the New York Mets, lost 100 games, and managed in Atlanta. He had a decent team. He had Dale Murphy, Chris Chambers, Bob Horner, but wasn't very good. So when he got to New York, he was really a miserable loser as a manager. And the headline read, Clueless Joe. And then he won 4 championships in 5 years.
I was going to say, see what happens. So this is...
So, but here's the... When you got Derek Jeter and Tino Martinez and Bernie Williams and Mariano Rivera and Andy Pettit and even other guys like Scott Brocious, and when you got those guys, Jorge Posada, doing what they do, it doesn't matter. So don't ask me how Don Mattingly's going to do. Ask me how those Marlins, who all died on the team last year, in the pitching, they traded everybody. They got rid of all those veterans. Latos, he sucked. Harron, he sucked. The young guys, Henderson Alvarez, he sucked. How are those guys going to do? That's the question. Not how is Don Mattingly going to do. He's a big name. New Yorkers will be excited, Yankee fans, but he doesn't do anything. He hasn't had at bat in many years. I want you to know that. I don't think Don Mattingly will have any hits for the Marlins next year. Do you?
A good baseball manager. He's not
No, he's not a good baseball manager.
I'm just saying.
He's been fired because he was not a good baseball manager. What makes him a good baseball manager? He just got fired.
Well, he just got hired. I figured.
Yeah, because the Marlins hire names. We know that already. What's his name? The owner jerks off over big names.
Yeah, well.
So Donnie Baseball is a borderline Hall of Famer, all-time Yankee great. So, of course, he's going to hire him because he knows there'll be a couple of Yankee fans down here that'll go to games because of Mattingly, even though Mattingly's going to sit in the dugout. But he's done nothing to say he's a good manager.
Is a manager, if he was a good manager, are they worth a couple of wins a year, or is that a couple?
Not more than a couple. But a bad manager can cost you a lot more games. I mean, a bad manager can really F you.
Well, yeah.
In the ass with no lube.
But that's not Donnie Baseball.
No, not Donnie Baseball. No.
Oh, I can't wait for next season now.
Hey, realistically, if they have...
You're an idiot. Seriously.
What are you talking about,
What is
man?
wrong with you?
This is very good
Have
news.
I taught you anything?
Look at how Miami is shaping up. No Al Golden, no Joe Philbin.
Let's think about
Campbell.
Here's what we got. We got Dan Campbell.
Donnie Baseball.
Don Mattingly. Eric Spoelstra. Gerard Gallant. And... I couldn't tell you the name of the Hurricanes football coach right now if you put a gun to my head.
Larry Scott, I think.
I think you are right. It is Larry Scott.
I think so.
Well, Gallant's he's a good coach.
Gallant's a good coach. Spoelstra's he's a Hall of Famer.
Eric Spoelstra.
You're number 8 already, a Hall of Famer, Eric Spoelstra.
Wow.
Dan Campbell's a legend already.
He's Vince Lombardi.
There you go.
They call him. We're not even calling him. They're calling him the Miami Dan Campbells.
Damn right.
Not even the Dolphins.
Not even. No, we're getting rid of the name. The Miami Dan Campbells.
He's a man.
Who's the last guy? That would be. Who do you miss there?
Who did I miss? Oh, Mattingly.
Oh, Mattingly.
And then Don Mattingly.
Yeah.
Donnie Baseball, and he'd bring the Yankee fans to the stadium, too.
Oh, my
and
God.
And D. Gordon loves the hire.
This is the greatest sports town ever.
If the Dodgers had Ryu, they probably beat the Mets.
This is the
and
greatest
he still has a job.
This is unbelievable.
What a turnaround.
What's on TV tonight? You have any idea? Just
Tonight? What are you talking? Huge game.
What game is that?
The Dolphins and the Pats.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's right.
That's going to be.
Dan Campbell. He's going to put his stamp on the. Really put his stamp down on the Dolphins.
If he goes and wins in New England, it's over.
If the Dolphins win,
he's going to be
seriously,
mayor.
if they win on the road tonight and he goes to 3-0, well, what are they going to say about this guy tomorrow?
Oh, he's going to be a deity. He's getting a
10-year contract extension right off the bat.
No, very good point out of you. Hey, let me give you this scenario. If the Dolphins win this game tonight and they're 3-0 under Campbell and they beat the rival, the nemesis, undefeated Pats, do the Dolphins step in right away and remove the interim tag? Well, they have to wait till the end of the year. What does he have to do to remove the interim tag before the end of the year? Is tonight enough for Danny Campbell?
Yeah, I think so. They blow out the 2 teams on the schedule.
Well, I'm going to text Mike Tannenbaum right now and find out.
Yeah.
And I'll come back.
Let's do it.
I'm going to tell him I'm not going to say anything on the air, so.
Well, you can break it to Charlie Casserly. He's coming on in a few minutes.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. Charlie might even know.
Dolphins, Patriots tonight. Giants and Saints from New Orleans on Sunday. Eric Lengel will be there. Jets and Raiders coming up on Sunday. So we'll curb the debate talk for a second. The Mattingly to the Marlins talk for a second. The Heat and the Knicks both win. And we'll talk football with former GM and NFL Network star Charlie Casserly right after this.
Welcome back to the Sid Rosenberg Show.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo. Chris, on the way out, if Joe Philbin gets fired, which he did 2 days ago by the Dolphins, the first coach down here to go this year.
And by the way, Ross is a clown, by the way. He's a clown. I want to make sure he gets that on the air. I'm not defending Philbin, but I tell you, Ross doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Now, do you know Steve from up in New York? Do you know him?
Oh, God, no. Thank God I don't know him. He don't know what the hell he's doing. He don't know the first thing about running a football. The whole thing was Sperano and Jim Harbaugh 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When he romanced Harbaugh, had no chance to get him. And then, of course, he had to give Sperano an extra years in his contract. He gives all that money to the University of Michigan, then wants people to buy a stadium for him in Miami. I mean, the whole thing, I can't deal with Ross. But
No,
anyway,
you're
go
right.
ahead.
You're right.
It's Sid Rosenberg on 640 Sports.
Lights go out and I can't be saved. Tides that I tried to swim against brought me down upon my knees. Oh, I beg and plead, singing, come out of things unsaid.
All right, Christopher Mad Dog Russo. Doggy. I'm very excited about our next guest. He's a great football guy, great GM, Redskins and Texans, and did a very, very good job on CBS for many years and is now a big star on the NFL Network. And he's on Twitter. That's right, he's on Twitter at Charlie Casserly. Charlie, when I saw you on Twitter this morning, I was very, very excited. That's great stuff.
Yeah, we made a comeback. We were out of it for about 4 years, but we made a comeback here, and thanks for the advertisement, and I mentioned your show on my Twitter account.
I did see that, and we did retweet that and favor that. It was very exciting for us. I will tell you, you'll probably know this, being that you are, and I mean this sincerely, you're one of the smartest NFL guys on the planet today, that Twitter becomes a second job. You know that, Charlie.
Well, that's something. I got about 8 jobs right now. See, so I don't need second jobs. This will be my 9th job.
Oh
see?
my God.
So, but there's an element that we use it, and we try to. My philosophy on it is this: I'm going to give people football. I'm not going to give them what I'm eating for breakfast. Okay.
Right.
I'm not going to waste my time and other people's times on personal nonsense. So
what about
so
football?
That's what we're going to do. We're going to give them football every Sunday morning. We get on there and we go on for about an hour sending stuff out. Every Tuesday and Friday we definitely send stuff out, and then Thursdays, because I do some local stuff. We've got some good local stuff here on the Redskins tonight. We'll send out. So those are the things we definitely do.
Somebody was saying, I forgot who it was, that the Redskins should seriously consider, you worked in Washington for many years, you had great success, should seriously consider trading RG3 to Dallas. Why would they do that? First of all, it's inside the same division, if in fact RG3 ever regains that form. Is that something that's been talked about? Do you know?
I would be shocked if internally it's been talked about, because I don't think they would trade anything to Dallas. Philosophy-wise, I wouldn't trade within the division. Did it one time, and it was to Dallas, and it was the only game Dallas won in the '89 season, and we traded them a defensive lineman who we were cutting, and they had the first pick in the waiver wire, so they were going to get him anyway, and I was able to get a 4th-round pick out of him.
Nice.
Okay?
Nice.
Which I thought that was a pretty good deal, but he gave a fiery locker room speech before the game. Who knows if that had any difference, but I don't see them doing that, and I'm not sure, he fits what Dallas is doing anyway offensively, so and there's a contract issue and everything. Now, when the season's over, I would expect him to be gone here. And then it's open season. Dallas doesn't have a young quarterback to work with, and, I would expect them to go after the guy.
Are you convinced? I saw the game. I was at a wedding in New Jersey, Charlie, on Sunday, and I came home on JetBlue. So they only had 2 games on, and one of them was, in fact, the Redskins and the Buccaneers, and I saw Kirk Cousins engineer this unbelievable comeback, and they won the game 31-30. But I also saw him play against the Giants. I mean, are you convinced that Kirk Cousins is the answer?
Well, I've said publicly I'm not, but I think this is why you got to go play the games, play them every week. He's their best alternate, Sid. Colt McCoy is a career backup because he doesn't have a big enough arm, in my opinion. RG3 has not succeeded in the system. Whatever Cousins' problems are, he's far better than RG3 running the same system, okay? And that's what they're doing, the system that Gruden has, see? So, to me, you got to play the string out with him and then see where you are at the end of the season. His ability to make some really good throws. He's got throwing talent. There's no question about that. Gets rid of the ball quick. He's smart. Got some leadership ability. A lot of positives. He makes, plays that are bad plays under pressure. And that's been consistent to me since he's been here. I saw it in college. Can he get through that? we'll have to see. But to me, I just play the guy. He's your best option.
Now, tell me this, Charlie. As a successful front office guy, what makes a good coach? I ask you that because there was high expectations for this Dolphin team before the start of the year. They start Week 8 tonight. Great game up in New England against the Patriots. And we know they got off to a 1-3 start. They played very lackluster football, which resulted in Joe Philbin getting fired. They give a guy, the tight end coach Dan Campbell, who I like from his days playing with the Giants, the job, but no experience. And I know they played bad teams, Tennessee and Houston, but they've racked up 82 points, and they killed both of those teams. And guys that did nothing, Charlie, the first 4 weeks, like Cam Wake, have played well. So 2 games in, what do you think is really going on here?
Well, I think there's a combination of things, okay? There's the sense of urgency. Hey, they just fired the head coach. Who are they firing next, okay? So there's a sense of urgency on everybody's part in the building, including the players, okay? There's 2 things that are out of Campbell's control that have helped him. Number one, Brad and Albert came back. When Albert's in the lineup, they have a winning record. When he's not in the lineup, they don't have a winning record. That's huge. And then Cameron Wake is healthy. All of a sudden, he's playing better, okay? So those are 2 things that I think have helped him. Now, the sense of urgency on everybody's part, okay? And I think he sees that. I mean, he's an energy guy from what people tell me. He's shortened practices. He's got more competition in practice. He's more hitting. He's given them a direction. Hey, we're going to run the ball, man. And then he's put some power plays in, and we're going to run the ball. They're playing faster. They're playing quicker. The defensive line is playing reckless off the ball. They're firing off the ball. And this is a great challenge for them tonight. They match up with their defensive line well against the Patriots. Where they don't match up, and rarely anybody does, is with all the weapons the Patriots have and Brady's ability to spread the ball around. You're on a short week. You're going to be limited in your game plan. Part of your game plan against Brady has to be complexity. That's hard to do on a short week with a new coordinator.
Charlie Casserly, NFL Network. Follow him on Twitter today. He's active at Charlie Casserly. So there are 5 clubs still unbeaten, as you well know, Charlie. 3 inside the AFC and 2 inside the NFC. 2 will go head-to-head this week, so either Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning are going to lose a football game this week. But I want to ask you about one of the unbeaten clubs, not the Bengals. They do get off to good starts most years. It's December, January. That's the issue for those guys. That's Carolina. Pressure up a very impressive home win over the Eagles on Sunday. Cam Newton playing very well, even without Kelvin Benjamin out for the year with an injury. Are you buying the Carolina Panthers at 6-0?
You know, they haven't beat a team with a winning record. So you have to qualify it there. I think there are elements to this team that are really good. Do I think they're an elite team? No, but I'll tell you what. After New England, I don't know who. I don't know there is one.
What about Green Bay? Do you think Green Bay is one?
Green Bay's a good team.
Yeah,
Green Bay's a good team, but San Diego just ripped them.
Right.
Throwing the football.
Right.
Okay.
True.
But they're a good team on offense because they have balance. But they have balance because they have a quarterback who spreads the ball around. Which is why they have balance as far as throwing the ball, and they're good offensive line, and they run the ball well. They're a good football team. Okay, I think Cincinnati. I put Cincinnati ahead of them in the ratings, but what I said is this: really, after New England, you can just start throwing darts. Really, they're all in a hat and pull one out. Okay, of the unbeaten teams, but. That's where I think Green Bay is. I think going back to Carolina, they run the ball well. The offensive line has really played well. That's been a sort of surprise for them. I think it's played better than they thought. So they run the ball well. They've put some things in for Newton, running the ball. They've also put in a read pass play where he reads the safety, he hands it off, or throws the ball. He's had success with that. So they're very dangerous in that area. The passing attack is hit and miss. If you cover Olsen, they're going to have to put the Ginn or Kotchery, and that's not a great option there. You just got to cover Olsen, which obviously Seattle didn't do very well when they played him. Defensively, they play really good, solid team defense, but they don't rush the passer well. And outside of Norman, I think they're vulnerable in the secondary. It's who they play, though. How many good teams do you really have? And that's really the biggest issue. So, we know it's between them and Atlanta, and New Orleans who can sneak in there.
Right.
But they have elements that are playoff caliber and elements that aren't playoff caliber. That's what I see in their team.
Andrew Luck, what's going on this year? I know the offensive line is beat up, and his receiving core is not the same. Obviously, Andre's an older guy, and T.Y.'s been beat up. But what's going on? Disconnect between him and Pagano. He's made. I know he's thrown a lot of picks before. People forget that. You look over the last 4 or 5 years, he's thrown more interceptions than anybody, Andrew Luck. It just looks particularly bad this year. What's going on?
Yeah, I think I think there's first of all, I think he's forcing too many things, even more than normal, okay? And I think there's somewhat of an identity crisis on what they want to be on offense. And I think this will be a crucial week for them to come back and do they get back into, getting the ball to Ty Hilton and the things he does well. And they're a better team on paper than they were a year ago. They haven't played as well. So I think finding an identity on offense, Luck has to take a few less chances than he's doing, and he is a guy who's going to take chances, okay? But I think if they can manage those two things, I think that'll help them. I think the other thing is, in the bigger picture, it's sometimes when the expectations are unrealistic, and I think they were with the Colts. Yeah, the Colts were better, but they were depending on some older players, and Andre Johnson has not had the year that they hoped he'd have. Gore has done well, but they have to monitor the carries. Trent Cole has not produced at the level they thought he would have, that he would get out of him rushing the passer. And I just thought that the expectations were unreal. The head coach is in the last year of his contract. You probably have other coaches in the last year of his contract. All of that sometimes is not a conducive situation to winning. And you got to have a level of comfort and sense of urgency and confidence in the building, and I'm not sure all those things are there right now.
I'm watching the Mets and the Royals, Charlie, and I'm a Met fan, so I love the World Series. And I made the point a couple of days ago. What a great first year for Rob Manfred, the new commissioner of Major League Baseball. There were no Balco rumors. There were no steroid rumors. There was really nothing ugly going on off the field. Now we've got a great World Series. I love the NFL, and the world loves the NFL. Listen, the popularity is going through the roof. But every year, we deal with serious image issues for the league. We're doing it again. Johnny Manziel in Cleveland, Greg Hardy in Dallas. What about these guys? What about this ongoing issue with guys in the NFL?
Well, but it's a minority. It's a player here and a player there. And you're being in the NFL, which is far more publicized than every other league. I mean, baseball has a game of the week, okay, on Saturdays, and then they have, I guess, some ESPN games that are called Game of the Week or whatever. But, I mean, the NFL has a game on Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, and 4 o'clock Sunday is the same thing as a primetime game. You have 4 primetime games a week, okay, that dwarf every other sport completely. The publicity that happens in the NFL with players is far greater than everything else. Hey, no one's excusing Greg Hardy. I wouldn't have him on my football team. I wouldn't have Manziel on my football team, okay? But I don't have a football team right now.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of other teams that feel the same way I do. But those are minority situations. There are very few of those situations in the NFL. I just think because of the NFL's stature, those things are going to get talked about more than they would in other sports.
That's fair. So let me flip it around on the way out here, Charlie. I agree with you. But if in fact it is an unfair blemish and teams we concentrate more on that than other sports, then if a guy like D'Angelo Williams or William Gay are going to be out there promoting breast cancer, domestic violence awareness, wearing pink eyeshadow or pink socks, why would the NFL give those guys a tough time?
In what respect, giving them a tough time?
They're fining them. The NFL is fining them.
Yeah, okay. You get fined because you have rules, okay? And, just because you do positive things doesn't mean you get a free pass on the rules. Okay,
fair.
So you have to have the rules and you have to enforce the rules.
That's fair. Okay, maybe Roger Goodell needs to just take a look at that and maybe change that rule. Hey, they can follow Charlie Casserly at Charlie Casserly. Check out Charlie on the NFL Network. We love you, Charlie. You do a great job with us and on the network, and thanks for hopping on today, buddy. Great stuff.
Okay, great to be with you, Sid.
You too, buddy. Take care. The great Charlie Casserly. Follow him today on Twitter at Charlie. That is Charley Casserly. Sean Thornton of the Panthers and Mark Caputo of Politico still to come. Lots more to do. Back on a busy Thursday, right after this.